Okay, so here we go. Right, you can see this, right. Okay, so first of all, medium heavy coolings are all been changed again. So Tigers, you know, their CPs are now increased, so you'll see them later on in the game again, which is so therefore the mid game is extended more, and that is to a great extent because the tier structures have also been changed around. So it says, look at this carefully. It says, let me just zoom in here so you guys can see this clearly. Okay, scroll out a bit. Okay, so tier 4 requires tier 3. So this means that if you want to get your T-34s, your SU-85s and your Katyushas out, you have to build your tier 3 first. And you can only go T-70s, SU-76s and then medium kind of armor. So therefore, the medium game is going to change, right? Because you can't quickly call out a T-34 or quickly go for a Katyusha artillery strikes. Okay? This is an important bug that's got fixed, casualty timer. So if you've noticed, like, you've been able to see lots of enemy units because your conscripts have not died properly yet, then this is the reason why. Because their casualty timers was 500 seconds. You know, until that means from them dying and crawling on the ground for them disappearing. So that would take 500 seconds for one of those guys to disappear, and that is massive because that gives you a massive line of sight. So now it's 30 seconds. So you know that problem is no longer in the game. Okay, so here we go. T-34-85s. We decided to take a different approach with medium coolings and have them tie into the core tech tree. This will still require the player to have a command equipped with the T-34-85 commander ability, but also now require players to build a mechanized armor compania to acquire the T-34-85 medium tank. Okay, so therefore, you know, this again extends the early and mid game rather than mid game, because you know it's going to cost much more fuel in order to get up to and bring out your heavier tanks. And the same is said for the Austere. So if I scroll down to the Austere right now, so here you think, all right, battle phases, the fuel, tech, and stuff have got and the cost has gone down, but it's balanced out by the tech buildings. And if you can do the comparison here, you'll see that the fuel is you know, you're spending much more fuel now to actually tech up. So therefore the Austere is balanced out because the Austere also have a long and an equally long time to get their tanks out as well. So therefore, you know, that mid game would be more prominent. Okay, so what I expect to see now, and also very important thing, is that where's the MG? The MG42 has been moved to the HQ, which is really important. You know, that is going to encourage lots more builds, I think. You know, I'm definitely going to try out my Strupen build and bring in with, you know, like MG, start off with like maybe double MGs and go into like 3 Strupen because I don't have to build tier 1. Though, that being said, I won't get my Panzerfaust, so if someone does try to M3 spam, it's going to be difficult to counter that. So maybe Strupen isn't a viable strategy. I don't know until I try. So, you know, we should try that out. So... yeah, so you can have you know the MGs earlier. Also, I think that, you know, trying to go, you know, an MG heavy early strap is not a great idea, because if we scroll up to the Soviets, I noticed something about their tier 1 structure. Where is this? Tier 1 has been reduced by 10 fuel, right? So they can now place it and they save 10 fuel. This 10 fuel can go to a faster M3 scout car, right? Now, you know, we already deal with like maybe 1 or 2 scout cars pretty early. This just accentuates the problem for Austere. So you need to be really careful with, you know, like M3 play styles, because you might get kited to oblivion, which I am worried about. Okay, so that's what I'm think that's, you know, if I'm worried about this patch, this would be my thing that I'm worried about, because, you know, Austere don't seem to have any buffs to counter that specific buff that the Soviets have got, which is the 10 fuel cheaper tier 1. So that's a bit worrying. So let's just go see if we can see if there's anything that the Austere can benefit. You know, I mean, so their battle phase 1 has been decreased, so they save 5 fuel there, but then it's gone up again by 5. What they do gain is about, okay, let's compare this. So 100 manpower. 80. So they saved themselves about 80 manpower with this change. No fuel is changed really if you're taking up to tier 2. So you save yourself 80 manpower. Now, 80 manpower, I don't know, isn't that much of a big change. I think the fuel difference is, you know, if it was a bit cheaper fuel-wise, if it was equivalent to the, you know, the change the Soviets received with their tier 1, then maybe it might be balanced. But I'm not sure. That would be the thing that I'm worried about. Other important things to note. Okay, so looks like the close air support doctrine got nerfed here. There's a delay so people can react here. Redistribute resources, that's not a big deal. It's only 25 munitions. Command tank, now the radius is like in all territories, which is quite nice. Bugs, yeah, that's that. Okay, infantry support gun. Oh wait, stern pioneers is pretty important. So they are much cheaper to now reinforce. Well, 8 manpower cheaper to reinforce, which is pretty good. And reinforcement times reduced by 20 cents, which is pretty important as well. So if you're playing around like a med truck kind of strategy, and you've got, you're trying to defend with stern pioneers, that's going to be really, really big. Also, the Sturmtiger, this is pretty huge if you decide to go for a Sturmtiger. Now, the Sturmtiger is now in elite troops, so you can only get the Sturmtiger in elite troops now. And now the P4 has swapped its place. So the P4 that you could get in elite troops has been swapped with the Sturmtiger, which is pretty important. So you can now have a medium tank as the OKW, which is quite nice. It starts with the skirts as well, so it's going to have that little bit of extra defense, I believe, or health, or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, the penetration. So it's just that basically, whatever it hits now, it will just annihilate it, right? In its radius. So whatever the AOE, whatever the AOE is, anything inside that AOE is dead, basically. So you want to be careful whenever the Sturmtiger is seriously gonna wreck some shit now, and the range is increased by 5. So therefore, if you're playing against elite troops, commander, you need scouting units to be able to spot for the Sturmtiger. Is there anything that's worth noting anymore? I think that is it. I mean, weapon rack, yeah, that's okay. Major's gone up by 30 fuel. That's quite big. But captain's reduced by 20, so you're probably going to see Stuarts more now, more medium armor. I mean, this also makes it so that again, the late game for Americans is also increased because they're going to have to weight more fuel to bring out the bigger tanks. Interestingly, the artillery piece for the Soviets, the big one of the howitzers that they have, well, not howitzers, just the artillery. The ML-20-152 artillery piece, you don't see it at all now, but you might see it more because they've increased the salvos they've doubled the salvos, but there's no precision strike. So basically, it might be a good artillery piece, but we'll see how that deal fares out or whatever. Maxim HMG doubled suppression. That's pretty big. I think that's pretty good. So I thought Maxims already, as soon as you get a Gren getting shot by a Maxim, they feel like they're instantly suppressed. So this is just going to be really painful to deal with. For trying to deal with Maxims. So yeah, I think I covered the biggest changes there. Oh, splats. Yes, another thing. So now you can no longer check in people's bases to see what kind of tech they've got. You won't be able to see, Soviet Tier 1 or Tier 2. You have to go scout it now, which is quite nice. I like that change because that encourages people to scout. Maybe with your first Kubel, you rush in the base and just check to see what they've teched. So yeah. And again, like other like lesser call-ins, like the Puma and the Stagi have gone up by. Actually, the Puma call-in has been lowered. I just noticed that now. So therefore, if you go, that what was it? Yeah, so I think someone in chat actually said, I wondered why you said the mobilized commander would be OP, but I can now see why, because the Puma has been reduced to 5 CPs. That's going to come on much sooner, and also the command tank has now have a radius instead of like being in a certain territory, which is quite nice as well. So that's going to be really crucial, I think, because that allows you to be much more aggressive with your command tank, because all your troops gain a buff just by being near it and not by being in the sector that the tank is in. So yeah, okay, I guess that's it for there. I will end that highlight. I'll highlight this to go on my YouTube channel later on, I think, so people can listen to my analysis of the patch notes. But let's get on to more games, I guess.